Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Just going to take a minute here while people get signed in, make sure I've got my email up in case people have questions or issues. And perfect. All righty. For anyone who is new, welcome. We're glad that you could join us for the first time. And for those of you who are regulars with us, welcome back. Just for those of you who are new, a couple of notes before we get started. This is a webinar style class rather than a Zoom meeting. So if you have questions during the class, you're going to click on that Q&A box in your Zoom menu, type those questions in, and Peg will be taking questions during the class. If you have any other issues, I'm going to open up chat. You're welcome to send me a chat, and I will be monitoring that during the class. We are recording today, and so as usual, the recording will be available about 24 hours after the class on our YouTube channel, and I'll be sending a link out with our coupon and the recording link afterwards.
And did you get the printout of what's in the pictures?
I did not. Thank you for letting me know about that. I have the coupon, I don't have that. So I will do my best to name the plants and give that information, and we will follow up with that in the email tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Thanks, Peg.
That's helpful. In that way, if they've forgotten or didn't write it down, I did try to name most of the things that are in the containers.
That is great.
And
So I
that's
will do my
available for you, so you don't have to frantically go about writing them down, okay? I don't always get around to that.
No, yeah, it's great. I'll do my best today to give you guys the names during the class, like to spell them. Peg will actually tell you. And then we'll follow up with a corrected and correct version tomorrow with Peg's notes. So you all can look forward to that. All right, for those of you who don't know Peg, Peg has been with Merrifield for many years. She's one of our lead educators, lead container designers, lead many things. And she is fabulous with spring container gardens. So she comes and does this every year for us. And I always look forward to this class because I feel like it's a big celebration of spring. She's based primarily out of our Fair Oaks store. If anybody wants to come and see her, that's where she's located. And Peg, I'm sure you have a full class, so I'm going to go ahead and let you get started.
All right, we'll do that. So grab your hats, grab your gloves. My preference, and you're going to hear my preferences throughout whatever I do. My preference are these foxgloves, which we have here at the Fair Oaks location. They're wonderfully soft. I can feel everything I'm doing. If I'm working with something that's wet, I get some of those inexpensive gloves to put on over them. Okay, so you've got your hat, you've got your gloves, get yourself organized. Next thing that you have to do is think about the tools that are really wonderful to do the job. And I am very particular about my tools. If anybody borrows one, they know they have to bring it back, okay? Because I take care of my tools. And wonderful choices, and I love the fact that this is made in America. This is a long-handled one, and they make several other different ones, all of which are great. I love this because it's extremely well made, and you can go deep into a container and lift, particularly that old soil, or if you're mixing your fertilizers into the soil. This is my go-to thing, and it is, as I said, made in the USA, and we have it here at the Fair Oaks location, and it's a Wilcox, Wilcox. Fantastic too. Another one that I really love when I'm doing my containers to have containers that I can put old soil in if I am rejuvenating a container, or new soil in sometimes when I'm doing this. So often I'll go to my shed, I'll put in my tools, love this one as I said. And then another one that I cannot be without because I do a lot of containers is the scoop. I love the scoop for adding soils to the pots and other things too, okay? Even getting in and stirring and mixing it up. So I need one of these, okay? I also always take my joist chins along because I have to open the bags and frequently maybe trim something off. And so I like to have those for certain. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with containers because I won't be talking to you for a couple of weeks at least. This is a tool that I've only been using for the last couple of years, and it's a DeWitt, D-E-W-I-T. It is a wonderful, wonderful weeder. It is my favorite weeder now. So I had to tell you about this one, the DeWitt weeder. There's a couple of the weeders, and they're both very good. I just brought up one of them. So I get my tools in here, and then I also put in some landscape fabric. I like to use landscape fabric over the holes that are in your containers, and all of your containers need to have drainage holes. I like this. I know there's some people that say you can use coffee filters, you can use other things, but this is my favorite. Why do I do this? To keep the soil in, for one thing, and it also helps to keep little buggies out, and that's a good thing too. To make it easy for you here at the Fair Oaks location anyway, we cut 1 yard pieces of that fabric and sell it because not everybody needs a whole roll of landscape fabric. And this is rather small because this happens to be a small pot, okay? So that goes into my little tub that I'm carrying around with me, several pieces of this, because if I'm doing new containers, it has to have something in it. Or perhaps I need to replace one, although most of the time I don't have to in the older containers, okay? So that goes into the container. The next thing, I'm going to tell you about this because a lot of us, particularly who have deer traveling through our properties, and I do, need to protect ourselves from that. When I'm spending time in the gardening, I wear long pants and usually long sleeves. And I do use DEET because it will keep the ticks and mosquitoes too from bothering me. But I don't spray my skin. I spray my clothes, I spray the pants, and I spray the hat. Okay, that helps with mosquitoes. And I had some little gnats out last night. So into that goes the thing of DEET along with me, okay? Then you have to think about your containers. We have so many beautiful containers at all 3 locations. And I brought up a small one simply because I could carry it, number one, okay? But I do want to explain to you that if you choose a small container, you have to realize that it's going to require more maintenance. You will have to watch your watering in it, particularly when it gets hot, okay? But this is a set. It comes in different sizes and they're absolutely beautiful. So I just brought the small one up, and here's what I do with my containers, okay? First goes the landscape fabric over the bottom. And then your next thing is, you've got to have with you too, is the potting soils. Let me reach down, sorry about that. And we sell a lot of very good potting soils. But all potting soils are not created equal, okay? And getting a cheap one is not necessarily what you want to do. Okay, so from all of the good potting soils that we sell, I have picked my 3 favorites. Of course, Mary Field has for years done our own potting soil because I've been doing this for years and I insisted that we had to have certain things in this potting soil. And so it does contain, and it tells you on the back what the contents are, but it is a very good potting soil. Okay, drains well, that's important, okay? Next in the line, and this one I absolutely love to use. I love to use this because it has all the good things that Maryfield has in it, but it also has other things. It says land and sea, which is very true. It does use the lobster compost, it has earthworm castings, crab meal, shrimp meal, a lot of good nutrients. Now, it's probably the most expensive one that we have, but I really like it. Fox Farm. Excellent. Now, close in line with that, because it also has earthworm castings and good stuff in it, is Espoma. Espoma products are excellent. Espoma organic potting soil. Okay, so those are my three top choices. When it comes to fertilization, and you do need that because in containers, you're constantly watering them. Therefore, the nutrients are being washed out. Now, these organic things, they put pretty well, okay? But when I'm doing my containers, I like to have on hand, because I do a lot of them, a large bag of plantain. And again, this is an Espoma product, and all their products are excellent. But this is a good general purpose one that I use for almost everything. I really love to use organics, particularly in the soil when I'm planting them. I'm not as careful, except with my herbs and vegetables. If I've got those in containers, I use all organic. But in the other flowers, etc., I will sometimes use this wonderful liquid fertilizer according to the directions. This is Jack's Classic Blossom Booster, which is very good for most of your flowering plants. Because you are watering frequently, this is a good one to use for those plants, because you can add it every couple of weeks, and you can try half strength for a while and see how those plants are growing. But because you're watering a lot, it needs food. Okay. Now, if you're following with herbs, a strictly organic, there's Neptune's makes a fish and seaweed liquid, and you follow the directions on that in things like herbs and vegetables, and it's very well done. I'm sure, well, at least with me growing up, we were always told that the Indian people, when they planted their vegetables and so forth, they put a fish under it. Well, I don't have a fact checker, but anyway, this works. I love it, you know. So we are also the middle today, is actually the 15th of April. And there is the potential that one could have a frost, generally speaking, somewhere, at least in this metropolitan area. I know we had a light frost last week, and that is a concern. Some things take it better than others. Certainly your pansies and all of that sort of thing are fine. You don't have to worry about those at all. And actually, I test a few things in my garden, and I had a light frost last week, and I didn't cover anything, and most things came through fine. My petunias and viola, not the violas, the petunias and the calabricoa will all take some light frost unless they just come right out of the greenhouse. And there are a few other things. I put in snapdragons and they weren't harmed by it. Okay. They got a little wilty, but they snapped back. But the safe thing would have been to use a harvest guard. This is a very lightweight fabric that the rain will go through and the sun will go through, and you can cut it to fit and tie it down around your containers, or you can staple it in the ground if your things are in the ground. And this will help it for 2 or 3 degrees at least, but it will also keep heavy wind off. And sometimes that's a problem too. My son gave me several years ago a huge roll of this stuff, and it's reusable. It's wonderful in the spring, it's wonderful in the fall, so it's not a bad idea to have some of this on hand. Now, I think after tomorrow, the predictions are a lot better, but just bear in mind, and as we go through some of these pictures, I'll explain to you some of the things that are not quite as hardy as others, okay? Because we're all anxious to have some flowers out for Easter. We're all anxious to have the color out. But bear in mind that it's still mid-April, and you have the responsibility to protect those plants if the weather happens to turn, okay? I do have, and Danny, could you manage to bring this up? It is wonderful to have Danny here working with me because it's really so nice to have those muscles. Now, is that gonna show? Okay. There are several reasons why we do containers, and it's not just for the color. And you can have these if you've only got a deck, and even a condo on a deck. I have them on my deck. I have them on the outer patio. I have them in front of my house where I can sit on the porch and watch. I love the hummingbirds, and they come to a lot of these plants, but there's some that they prefer. And I tried to put a number of those into this container. And when we do containers here, here's what we do. We put those, oops, dropped one. Sorry about that. We put those tags inside that container where they're not so visible. And this will remind you at the end of the season what you had in that container. So save them, or at least take a picture, okay? And because if you come into us and say, I want this, or you're describing it, a picture or one of these tags really tells us what thrived for you. So in this is a salvia, but it is a very special salvia. And this one gets really big, okay? It can get 3 feet tall easily. And so it'll come on up above everything else. And the hummingbirds love these plants. They're this dark color, there's purple, there's red, and they are the Rockin' series. How about that? The Rockin' series of salvia. But there are several other really good ones out there also. From the perennial section, and a perennial that will bloom for you off and on throughout the whole summer, are the Greggii, and they come in different colors too. But you'll find this salvia in the perennial section. This one sometimes winters over. I haven't seen mine coming out yet, so I don't know if it made it through this winter. We had a difficult time because sometimes it'd be very cold and then very warm and then very cold again. So that was difficult. Okay, in this area is a plant again that will get about 2 feet tall. So it's going to complement this and fill in somewhat as a filler. And it's Gartenmeister fuchsia. And they love that plant. Okay. Then we have the lantana over in this area, which blooms all summer long. A little deadheading every now and then because it will form some berries, okay? A little deadheading on that one will really help a great deal. And then another one that they absolutely love is vermilion, okay? And all of these little tags, that everything that is in here then goes into this container. So we have Hummingbird Haven and a pollinator sanctuary. Okay, I'll need those muscles again. Okay. Because we'll bring up
About how big is that container, inches wise?
that particular container is at least 18 inches. Okay.
18 inches? And that's a full sun container, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, full sun. As long as it has at least 6 hours of sun, okay, that it will thrive because where I have it, and soon you'll see some pictures of where I have these. Another major thing that is important to us where containers are concerned are herb gardens. I use herbs in my cooking all the time. Deep South grown up, fried foods, no. Now I use herbs to season my food, and I have to have fried chicken a couple of times a year anyway. Now, in this, again, I have all of the tags. And I have in this a nasturtium, absolutely favorite of mine. Wonderful, You can eat them. You can decorate with them, the leaves and the flowers. And then I have chives growing over here. And you can cut from those. You don't have to cut the whole thing. Although, if you chose to do that, chives will come back quickly within a couple of weeks. So there's chives in here. There's parsley in here, and I use that for cooking. There's a Greek basil in here. There's lemon thyme, there's dill, there's rosemary, there's oregano. Okay, I put all of these in here so that I could share with you the different types of herbs that I really want near my kitchen because my property is fairly large and I have a lot of these in the ground planted in the back, but I don't walk back there all the time. And so I have herb gardens right off my deck where I could go out and snip them as I need to. Okay. Now, I have planted this up for instant gratification. In actuality, it's too many plants in this size pot. If this pot were 2 times that size, it could handle most of this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to enjoy this for a little while, and then I'm going to take that wonderful trowel, and I'm going to very carefully go down and take out 2 or 3 of these plants and put them in another container, okay? So there is a limit to how many herbs you really want and to put into one container. Okay, babe, I'll let you swap out one more that's over on this side, so don't tip over all my mess over here. And while you're doing that, I will say this where when it comes to plants, since this is in line here while he's bringing up the other one. Another favorite thing to put in containers is something that will grow tall. And that is mandevilla or dipodemia, those kinds of things. And they will need some staking. So that can be the center of a container, and then you can have other things flowing out of it. So I needed to mention that because we've just gotten some beauties in. Okay. Now, this particular container, again, needs a minimum of 6 hours of sun. And it's wonderful to have cannas in the center because they're very strong line for that. And it will get much taller, of course. But I've got a color pickup here too. This is a begonia that will take full sun. The dark leaf ones do a better job of that than the green leaf ones. And believe it or not, this begonia is just very beautifully named. It's called Big Begonia. Or there's another one very similar called Whopper Begonia. So this is a color pickup with the canna, which is attractive to me. I like the contrasts of color and texture. And then we have this basus that's flowing, that will flow out of it, and there's one of those on each side. And then into that, I have the lantana, which is going to come out and billow out. So this will be a large container. And Danny, you'll need to sit this one back for me to get to it, okay? And while Danny is doing that, I want to tell you, when you are selecting some of these plants that are going into your containers, for instance, with this nasturtium, which is, I told you before, an absolute favorite of mine. If you look at this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 plants in there. And I don't want to cut off all those plants, but 8 plants are too many to go into a container or even into the ground. And I don't want to throw them away because I paid for them, okay? So I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to have a pot of water, not in my sink, because I don't want the soil to go down the drain. I'll do it outside. Going to have a container of water. I will take this out of the container, put it into that water, and gently, gently wash that soil off those roots. And when you do that, you can very gently pull most of, you may lose one, but you won't lose them all. Gently pull them apart. Have your container ready for them to go in, because as soon as you set them apart, you need to put them back into some soil, okay? And that could be a little larger pots to get them started in, or directly into your containers. So that's how I deal with plants that there's more than one. Now, if there were only two in this pot, I would not bother it. I would plant it like that, okay? Whether it's beans or whatever. Tomatoes, I might try to separate, okay? But that's how you can do that and get away with it, okay? Danny, let's bring up some of these pictures and talk a little bit about them, because I've got a number of them and I need to go through them probably pretty quickly, okay? And I've got my cheat sheet here so that I can follow through with you, and we will get this to you, okay? This is an area where I have a grouping of pots that is above a brick wall, and I can sit on my front porch and I can enjoy whatever's going on out there. But I like to have it attractive in all seasons. And so I do have to change out some of these pots. Some things I change out. In this one, there is a juniper that is part of that year-round experience. It is beautiful in the wintertime. And it's procumbens. There's a couple of the low-growing ones that are fun. That juniper has been in that container for at least 4 years. Now, I keep it properly watered. I don't worry about it in the wintertime because it's fine. But I do add a little bit of fertilizer now and then. It does not want the same kind of fertilizer that your containers do, which might be every 2 weeks. I add only the organic plantain to that a couple of times in the season. Of course, the violas and the pansies are very hardy, and now the coral bells have come along quite well, and you can see the tulips are blooming well. These I enjoy. The dogwood is coming into bloom. A few of the azaleas are coming into bloom. The violas, and I love violas. They're wonderful, and they take more heat than the pansies do. But what you see blooming that's tall there is kale. I plant the kale in the fall, and it's attractive all winter long. Red boar is the ones that you're seeing here, and now it is in bloom. When it finishes its bloom, they will be taken out of their containers and replaced with summer things, okay? Next one, please. Yep. This is on the back deck. Cold hardy. Fern. Perennial fern. I love to go to the perennial section when I can. And I go there primarily for texture and color within the leaves themselves, because these do extremely well in shade or part shade, okay? Like to avoid the hottest afternoon sun. This particular one, there's the grass is a chorus. There's heuchera or coral bells in there, and there is a fern. Added for color are the pansies. When the pansies are finished, they will come out, and they will finish when it gets really hot. They will come out, and I will replace them probably with Selenia begonias. I love those begonias. Next one, please. Okay, back to that wall where I can enjoy this sitting on the front porch. The beautiful variegated plant that you see there is Dorotheanthus or Mesus, M-A-Z-O-O, Mesu. Okay, but there's also Gartenmeister fuchsias, the red that you see. Coming up from below, which is 5 feet down, the clematis always comes up, and a couple of them are trained so that they flow up into these containers. And for 3 weeks, probably, I get the most beautiful, beautiful clematis. And by the way, it happens to be a volunteer, okay? Okay, same wall. This is Hummingbird Haven, and they'll be coming soon. They haven't come yet. My first ones usually come when the azaleas are in full bloom, and they're not quite there yet, okay? There is one fun thing that you can see coming out from this. There's petunias now blooming in here. There's angelonia. There's the golden is sedum. But the gray that you see trailing down is dichondra. Okay, so the next one. A little closer view of that, okay? Petunias and Calabricoa put on quite a show for me. I love them. And I love the proven winners, but there's some other fun ones out there too. There's one called Headliner that has been very good for me. And the Crazy Tunias have been very good for me. So this is a number of pots. Yes, it's a lot to take care of, but yes, I do enjoy it. Okay, this is a better showing for that dichondra. You can see this is toward the end of the season, so it's gotten really, really long. It's the long gray streamers that you see there. It is an annual. It is not hardy over winter. Although I have carried some over, I've carried quite a few things over because of a section of my basement that's not finished, and I have cheap drop lights. LED doesn't take much to keep them running. But also as a contrast of texture in this is the lotus spine. It's also great. And up above that, because this is primarily, now I have birds, bees, and butterflies all over, but particularly the hummingbirds. So you're going to see the angelonia and the fuchsias and some of the salvias in that picture also. And then the next one, this is a grouping of plants, and I don't remember the exact variety of this one, but they're all of the Gomphrena family, and they're so prolific, and they're actually dry. So you can cut those stems and they dry perfectly. I love it. And there's, as I said, this one kind of sprawls, but a lot of them don't sprawl. Now, I prepared for, in the next one, I prepared a garden at the end of the season that would be attractive through the fall and winter also. And I've learned that the big grass that you see there is just fantastic. I've used it now for 2 or 3 years because it's relatively new on the market. It's Carex Feather Falls, and it's really big. It could be divided now and put in the ground. It would be particularly attractive on the slope because it has such long fronds coming out from it. And as a pickup in that, there is a variegated iris there. Now it will bloom, but the blooms are kind of insignificant. I grow it more for the foliage than anything else. And then again, as a contrast, but also a color pickup, I have the lamb's ear also. And behind that, to give the color, is the sedum. And the insects love that sedum. Oh, it's great, you know. Now, granted, the sedum will be dried during the winter, but it still has a presence. Okay. And in the next one, and towards the end of the summer, because I love celosia and so do the bees particularly, I do tuck in some celosia, and this is the feathery one, okay? And in the next one, I use a lot of coleus, and I overwinter a lot of coleus. Now, thinking in terms of color, what do you want from the color? Coordination sometimes really works well. And I love the coordination of this particular Calabricoa with that coleus. And then you've got the contrast of the Feather Falls Carex too. And the next one, again, I love and enjoy having some perennials in the garden. This particular one is Euphorbia Ascot Rainbow, and it's the tall part with the Carex Feather Falls falling out of the front. Both of these are perennials. Both of them go through the winter. So that's a good thing that you can add year round to the garden. Both of those things, okay? They're not just fall and winter things. The next one, I'm going through these pretty quickly because I want to share ideas and I would like to leave a little bit of time for some questions. The next one is coral bells, and behind that is a fern and another one of the plants that attracts hummingbirds. And I cannot remember the name of that plant, but we will have it later in the season, okay? I'll have to think about that one. Let's do the next one. Kale and peppers are added toward the end of the season because they are absolutely beautiful and complement all the colors of fall. The next. Okay, this is an overview of that same area showing you because in the gray that you see there is also a kale. It's the dinosaur kale. Now, those are my two big choices in kale that overwinter well and bloom beautifully in the spring. And the next one is again taken once I prepared Celosia to go into some of these containers also. And here again, it's a color pickup with that coleus, and it's a color pickup with that petunia, because your eye flows through this when you think about color pickups. Okay, now let's talk about some of these plants and cold. I absolutely love caladiums, and there's some beauties out there now, lots of new ones on the market. Caladiums, it's a bulb, do not like cold soil. And when we think about cold, it's not just air temperature, it's soil temperature also. Fortunately, the soil temperature in a container warms faster than the ground. And so you could plant earlier with some of these things that really insist upon warmer soil. But don't be in a hurry to put your caladiums out in April. If we have them and you see something you really want, keep it in its small container and give it a couple of weeks before you put it in the ground or in a container. Caladium. Also, be a little cautious with the New Guinea impatiens. Okay, we have New Guinea impatiens, and then we have what's called sun patiens. They're all the same type of plant, okay? It's just that the sun patiens will take full sun if they're kept moist, and the New Guineas don't take that quite as well, okay? This one, I believe, is the New Guinea, not the sun, but it does get dappled light throughout the day and some afternoon sunshine, not blazing, okay? But this is the grouping that I have on the patio that is just below my deck, and it changes year after year, okay? But there's some fun things in here too. Some quiet color pickups, because as I'm looking at it on the left, there's the geranium. We've got some unusual geraniums, although this geranium is not a new geranium. It's been around for 100 years. It's called Centennial, and it's grown more for its foliage, although it has an interesting bloom. It's not that big heavy bloom that you get on the hybrids. So there's a color pickup between that and this variegated New Guinea impatiens. And then I've got some color pickup with the gray and contrast with the gray from the Dusty Miller, which is always good, okay? So in this, there's a lot going on, a lot of color pickup in the background, but in the ground, there's Hakanakloa. That's the grass, the yellowish, it's actually a variegated grass. And the golden bleeding heart that's there. And they're up right now and absolutely beautiful. Now, this picture is from a couple of years ago. It's not today, okay? Because I have not planted this all yet. I'm waiting until after tomorrow to put some of those things in. But be cautious with those that are a little more susceptible to the cold. as in the caladiums and the New Guinea impatiens. Okay. This is another section of that shows you some other plants that are very interesting. And I wanted you to see the Torrenia, the blue that's there. I'm into blue pots. I really do enjoy the blue containers, and I love the contrast because I've got a lot of the terracotta also. And I throw in a lot of the Mexican pottery. As you can see the owl in the background, okay? But what I wanted to show you here is how well, with part shade, part sun, the Torrenia, the blue, does. And now here you're seeing the Torrenia again, the hybrid begonias. The only one that really likes a lot of sun is Solinia. Okay. The others, this is combined with the Torrenia color pickup with the purple Secretia is the broader leaf that you see there, in combination with those begonias. But this one doesn't really want the hottest afternoon sun, okay? And in this next picture, an absolute favorite is Broelia. It will take a lot of sun, but it also is very happy in part shade. Now, cascading out of that is a proven winner, alyssum. And that alyssum put on a show all summer long. Alyssum Snow Princess. It is excellent. Flowing out of that container, pick up of the color with the white Broelia. I grow the white and I grow the blue. And then this is a blue container, although you can't see it at this point. But it also has Angelonia coming out of it. Now, Angelonia is also a plant that doesn't like real cold, okay? So if it gets down below 40, you need to watch some of these plants, okay? And then the next one we have a hybrid begonia with coleus. I use coleus a great deal, and in the next picture you'll see more of those coleus, okay? Different ones, some that cascade, some that grow upright. There are coleus that will tolerate more sun than some. These particular ones will tolerate a lot of sun, but they also will tolerate a lot of shade. And you can see those begonias rising up out of this, which is a color pickup, again, with the begonia and with the coleus, okay? And then I've got some of the blue Broelia that's picking up the color of the containers that are there. Okay. Trying to rush through these. I need to leave it. Okay, another fun one here. Added to that, orange oxalis. And then the next one, I love this plant. It's not a sweet potato vine. It is a solanum, and it is spectacular. It vines beautifully, and then coming up out of that, the Broelia. In the next picture, I have Colocasia, Hacanacloa. I will go more into the Colocasia, and I think 3 or 4 weeks maybe, in talking about the use of those. But we will have a lot of varieties there, and that is the feature of this. And then the next one is behind what we saw here. As I'm looking at it on my right is a couple of plants that I would like to point out. One is the irisine, Iresene, irisine, which is the filler underneath those colocasia, and also the asparagus fern. But there it is as a color contrast, the begonias and the Hacanacloa. Wonderful. And the next one, just a fun little decoration kind of thing, because I love to accessorize too. And the next one, don't know how that one got in there, but anyway. Here's another of that Gumfrida. This is the upright form. And planted with that which tolerates a lot of sun is the sun patience, okay? Now, just at the base of that, sitting on the table, because that was taken here at the garden center, are vinca. There is another one that you need to watch your temperatures on because they love the heat. They will take the heat and they will take a little bit of drought too, so that's great. Next one, because we're getting short of time. Next one, pentas. Oh, boy, the hummingbirds, birds, bees, and butterflies love that one. So this is sort of a tiered thing. And we've got the Mesus, Dorothianthus is the other name, and then the pentas, and above that, the Gumfrina. Okay, next one, I have to do this every time. Miss Clara. Include the young. I just was going through this same kind of thing with an older grandchild day before yesterday because she was getting ready to plant some things on her deck. And so we need to train the future generation. And you can see she's using my favorite tube there. She's adding the fertilizer to this container. It's going to be worked into that potting soil. I always keep the potting soil down from the top of the pot. I use as large pot as I can. This is in the vegetable garden. It'll probably have a squash or a cucumber growing in it. I keep it down from the top. And after I've got my plants planted, I want that to be at least a half an inch from the top. And I brought up a couple of things that I need to quickly tell you. My preference is to use very small gravel, 3/8 inch. And my preferred gravel is the red Seminole chips. It's a rough type stone, and the snails don't like it so much. Sometimes, because it's heavy for me to lift, I have been using pine straw. Growing up in the Deep South is a nostalgic thing for me anyway, and it's very attractive actually when it's mixed down into this. There's two things that it does. One way it's attractive, okay? Two things that the gravel and this does. It deters squirrels from digging because they love fresh soil. And also, when you're watering, it keeps the soil in the pot and you won't be washing out soil. So if you can't lift or don't want to be lifting the small stones, this pine straw works too. Now, I don't like to sit plants directly on my deck. I love these because you can move them around. There in the greenhouse, fantastic. I do not have saucers under my containers in the wintertime because it'll cause that pot to break. But in the summertime, it definitely helps with watering. And we have these beautiful containers out there. There's not always matching containers. So again, go to the greenhouse and get one of these inexpensive things. But I don't like things to sit directly on the deck. And if you are putting your container out within the garden, don't sit it on the soil. Use pot feet. Use something to raise it up just a little bit. Okay, I've taken an awful lot of time, Sally, but I try to fit too much in, I know. We will take a few questions.
Alrighty, everybody, please, oh goodness, please feel free to send in questions if you have them. We'll get through as many as we can. Peg, your first question is about squirrels. Do you have any recommendations to keep squirrels out of these containers?
Okay, well, I just answered that to the best of my ability, okay?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry I missed that.
That's
With the
all
pine
right.
straw?
No, well, my preference is the first thing I go to deter them, although the pine straw does too. The pine straw also seems to deter, right, deter snails. Small gravel. I really love the red Seminole chips, but any small gravel. I'm not a preference for white gravel, okay? Because you see the gravel, and I don't want to see the gravel, I want to see the plants. But 3/8 inch and put a good half inch in there. It discourages squirrels from digging because they love fresh soil to dig in, okay? Uh, that's about all I have to offer as far as squirrels are concerned, okay?
Okay. Okay. We just got a question, and I'm gonna jump in real quick. The question was, is there a container planting handout at the garden center? I can address online. We have a ton of container resources online. A lot of them were written with Peg's help. So there's great resources on the website. I believe we have some things in print. I'll have to check with the team, so please feel free to reach out.
I'm pretty sure that we do. Okay.
I thought so. I was like, you might be more familiar with the actual handouts that we have physically in the store.
Yes.
Um, but
Yes.
I do the classes. We have a separate couple of people who do our printed pieces.
Right.
So. Okay, Peg, this person is looking for some shade-friendly container plants, but specifically she's hoping for things that are more deer resistant. Do you have any experience with some of these shade-friendly container plants and whether or not the deer will munch on them?
Okay. There are very, very few annuals that the deer won't munch on, okay? The deer won't munch on your herbs, okay? They will not eat lantana. They don't like things that are rough or flavorful, although, and I haven't had them eat the salvia, but there's very few things that they will not eat. I have deer, and you wouldn't live at Tyson's Corner. You wouldn't think I'd have deer, but I do. And I'm not talking about one or two deer. I couldn't survive without this product right here. And for me, Bob-X is the first choice, okay? Follow your directions. The rain does not wash this off. It lasts longer than any of them for me. However, in the spring, when you've got new growth coming, and their favorites, of course, are the oriental lilies and the daylilies, and yes, they'll eat the foliage too, is that you need to spray every couple of weeks for a couple of times, and then you can space it out, okay, after that. The other one that I have a lot of customers that go to is liquid fence. And some people alternate these. Follow the instructions, and if you're consistent with it, I would not have a hosta in the place, okay, if it weren't for this. As far as shade type things, you don't have to worry about the grasses. They don't eat the lantana, and that'll do only part shade, okay, not full shade at all. But generally speaking, there's very, very few annuals that they won't munch on. And because this was very few acorns this last year, they've been eating everything, okay?
All right. Oh, I just accidentally closed our questions. Next question. Is now a good time for people to start planting their gladiolus and their dahlia? The warm season.
I would hold off on the dahlias for a week or two. I have started a lot of those that you can't find, during the season in containers, and I'll put them out during the day. And if it's going to get really cold, I'll bring them back inside. As far as the gladiolus are concerned, yes, go ahead and plant those. Absolutely.
Okay. Next couple questions are about our containers. Were all of the okay, you used a few different types. What are the containers made of that are behind you? Are those ceramics?
The ones that we showed you and
Yeah.
pulled up are plastic, okay?
Those are plastic? Okay.
Yeah.
That look good.
And a lot of those are the ones that Leo in particular does a lot of custom containers here, and he uses those containers. The smaller one that I showed you here is definitely ceramic and well-made ceramic, okay?
Okay, man, I need some of those plastic ones because the ones I have get so heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. I love your containers. When you have terracotta pots with kale, pansies, fern, coral bells, how do you overwinter them? I've had terracotta pots break in the freeze. So how do you keep your containers over winter, Peg?
Well, wing and a prayer. Some of them have, number one, never leave a saucer underneath them. Never leave them sitting on the ground, okay? I have far too many to bring all of them inside. Um, you're going to lose some every now and then. But there's some of the terracotta that's fired much better than others. And it will tell you frost resistant on it, okay? Never leave Mexican pottery outside. It will break, okay? But wherever you can bring them inside. I can't do that. I've got herbs planted in a lot of them. And most of mine came through the winter fine. I did lose one or two, but they were really old too. Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any reason that a light colored pot would be better than a dark colored pot?
Well, I don't worry about that too much. I have a lot of deep blue containers. Black, I'm told, will absorb heat more than it's like clothing that you wear. Your white is more reflective and the black is warmer, So there's a slight temperature change there, I think.
All right, let's see. For our travelers, do you have any recommendations for watering plants while on vacation?
Find a good friend.
The containers, yeah. What
There's
about those globe things that you can put in that have the water? Do you think those work?
If it's hot outside and it takes a gallon of water or more
Oh, yeah.
to water a plant every day when it's hot, do you think one of those plants is
No,
pretty
you're
good?
right. You're right. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, probably having a good friend for your outdoor pots in the
I
summer.
don't think so. You need to find a good friend and one that'll be sure to turn the water off when they leave.
Yes. Okay. All righty. Let's see. We got a couple more questions coming in. Um, okay, back to dahlias. Can you plant them directly outside next week? Like they can go straight into the containers?
Probably. I think the temperatures are sounding pretty good for the next week coming up. And then after that, God willing, I hope we're home free. The thing of it is, watch it and just be prepared to cover if something
Something
happens.
happens. Yeah. Okay. Um, I read if you lay ceramic pots on their sides so they don't collect water, they will overwinter fine, but I haven't tried it myself. Have you tried that?
No, I don't. The only reason I leave it out is because it's got plants in it.
Yeah.
But the ceramics and the well-fired ones that we've got here have come through the winter beautifully for me. As I said, the major thing is you never leave it sitting on soil. You don't want to leave a pot sitting on soil anyway. I mean, I stage a number of my pots within the beds, okay? But never sitting on the soil. Number one, it can stop up and then you won't have good drainage. But number two, it's going to absorb that moisture and then crack that pot. So and raise it up off that and don't leave a saucer under it. And I've had my ceramics go through the winter. Okay.
Okay. All right, we have 2 more minutes. So let's see. There's lots of soil goes in each container. Do you use potting soil or do you mix it with garden soil at all?
No garden soil, okay? You want excellent drainage. I'm glad we have a moment on this because I didn't address something that is really important, and that is if you are refreshing a container that you had last year or even before that, okay? Unless it's a tomato or something had a disease, that soil's fine, okay? It compacts over time. And this is one reason that I absolutely love this particular trowel. You need to take out about a third of it. And that's where this pail comes in handy, okay? You're out there, you've got all your tools right at your feet. You're taking out at least a third of this existing soil and putting it in here, okay? And then you are getting into that container and really lifting and moving it. You'll be surprised when people talk about, I want to fill the bottom of this pot with bottles or with something. I don't like to do that. I want it to be full of soil, okay? Now, if it's a great big container, figure out where you're gonna put that thing because you know it's gonna be heavy, or have a truck easier to move it with. But I prefer to put potting soil in there, not topsoil, okay? Because that might not drain well, and your stuff needs to drain well, unless it's an aquatic plant, okay? But you need to loosen that soil, add at least a third fresh soil, put in a good healthy handful of the potting, of the plantain, and then do your planting, okay?
Okay. All right, well, it's 1 o'clock, Peg, so we'll go ahead and finish our questions for the day. Just a quick reminder for everybody on my end, you will receive tomorrow a plant list, a link to their class recording, and your coupon. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. You can hit reply on your Eventbrite email. You can call the store. You can always come in and visit. We encourage that. And Peg, with that, is there anything you'd like to wrap up with?
Just simply, we always in all three stores have custom containers made up that would be helpful for you to determine what do you really want. Plus, a lot of assistance in this will do for the shade or this needs sunshine. And remember that the things that say full sun will do well as long as they get 6 hours of full sun. Okay? Enjoy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Peg. As always, love this class. Everybody have a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you in the store soon. Bye, Peg.
Happy Easter.
Oh, yeah, and happy Easter. Bye.
Bye bye.